Kimmy and I had 4 years under our belt, 2 apartments, one rescued calico who only liked her, a shared streaming account I paid for, and a ring I picked with my hands still smelling like machine grease from extra shifts. We got engaged last spring, on a bench beside the duck pond where she used to feed stale croissants to birds that were definitely not supposed to eat butter. She cried. I cried. A family walking by clapped, like we were a flash mob. It felt like the start of something big and neat, and exactly on track. I went all in. Overtime every weekend, moonlighting doing rigging checks for a buddy's stage company, selling my old guitar to cover the venue deposit. I learned the difference between peonies and ranunculus against my will. My phone was a battlefield of spreadsheets, Pinterest links, and reminders like, follow up with Evelyn at Golden Finch Bakery Earl Grey Lemon. And then, 3 months ago, there was the kitchen confession. It was a Tuesday, loud with the neighbor's blender and the smoke alarm that insists on screaming at toast. Kimmy was in one of my hoodies, sleeves swallowed over her hands, making circles on the counter with a glass of water like she was dowsing for courage. Don't freak out, she said, which anyone knows is the starter pistol for freaking out. Henry reached out. Henry, as in the high school sweetheart who once built her a mixtape with actual cassette ribbon and a handwritten J-card. I knew about him the way you know about a character from a show your partner binge-watched years ago, important once, but relegated to reruns. I've been talking to him, she said, voice thinning. Just catching up. It got complicated. Complicated looked like her phone flipping face down whenever I walked in, like late-night laughter 2 rooms away, like the way she pressed her thumb against her ring as if testing whether it would snap. I asked if there was something I should know. She stared at the stove and said it fast, like ripping tape. I said yes. For a half-breath, I thought she meant us, some past-tense glitch. Then she clarified. Henry had proposed last weekend in a tiny coastal town I didn't know they'd visited, and she'd accepted. She hadn't told me yet because she didn't want to ruin my week. My week. With the venue deposit due Friday, and the bakery tasting on Saturday, and my mother quietly returning to church, just to light a little candle for you too. I remember laughing. Not happy. The kind that slips out when the universe pulls a prank with terrible production values. A spam caller rang at that exact second. Congratulations on your recent engagement. We can save you hundreds. And I caught myself telling a robotic voice, she already did. Nick, Kimmy said, reaching for my hand. I stepped back without meaning to. The room looked wrong, like someone had nudged the furniture a few inches while I slept. Our cat jumped onto the counter, sniffed the water ring, and decided against the chaos. I'll move out, she said. It's better. We're better. We. A 2-letter wrecking ball. I didn't plead. I think not pleading saved me later. I nodded, numb, and took my keys off the hook because I didn't know what else to do with my hands. The weirdest part? 10 minutes after she left to get some air, her mom texted me a confetti gif. He told us. So happy for K+H. We'll always love you like a son. I stared at the screen until the gif looped itself into exhaustion. The next morning, I went to work early and stayed late, because moving is easier when you're too tired to feel. The venue called about the deposit. The bakery emailed that Evelyn was excited to meet us Saturday. I typed a 1-line reply. Plans changed. I didn't hit send. The thing about heartbreak is that it doesn't end cleanly when someone says, we're done. It lingers like a bad smell, finding new ways to surprise you. 2 weeks after Kimmy left, I was still stumbling through my own apartment like a tourist. Half the furniture was gone. Her books, her quirky lamps, the endless collection of throw pillows I always thought multiplied when I wasn't looking. She left me the cat, though, probably because he hated me less than he hated her. I thought that was it. Relationship over, sad boy healing playlist on, slow crawl back to normal. But no, the mail started arriving. First, it was a glossy save the date. My name was on the envelope in Kimmy's handwriting. Inside, a picture of Kimmy and Henry on a beach, wind whipping her hair, him with his arm locked around her waist like he'd won a prize. In loopy gold letters. Nick, can't wait to see you there. Love, K+H. I called her. No answer. Then her mom. She picked up on the second ring like she'd been waiting. Oh, honey, of course you'll be there. We can't imagine it without you. Without me? I said. You mean as a guest? Well, more than that, she chirped. You're practically family. You've got those work contacts in catering, right? We're having a hard time locking down a deal, and it would mean the world if you could just smooth it over. After all, you know what Kimmy's dream is. I nearly dropped the phone. You want me to help? Don't be dramatic, she said, in that dismissive way only mothers-in-law in another life can pull off. It's just one favor, and you'd be making it up to her, in a way. Closure, darling. That word stuck in my throat. Closure. Was this closure? Watching her walk down the aisle with someone else while eating hors d'oeuvres I'd gotten a discount on? I said no. Firmly. The first real no I'd ever given her family. Her mom's silence was louder than yelling. Then she muttered something like, ungrateful, and hung up. But they didn't stop. A week later, Kimmy showed up at my door with Henry in tow. Yes, Henry. They stood in my doorway like door-to-door salespeople peddling heartbreak. Kimmy smiled the same smile she used to flash when she wanted me to buy her overpriced candles. Nick, she said sweetly, we were thinking, what if you handled the music? You know all those sound guys from your rigging jobs. It'd be like your blessing. Henry actually nodded, like I was some elder they needed approval from. Man to man, you understand, he added, sticking out his hand like we were negotiating a business merger instead of my ex-fiancée's wedding. I didn't shake it. I closed the door. That night, I sat on the floor with the cat circling me like I was the last warm body on Earth. I realized something. They weren't going to stop asking. They thought I was still orbiting their little planet, willing to provide free gravity. So I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I hit send on an email. To the bakery. To Evelyn. Canceling our original tasting, yes, but also thanking her for her kindness when she'd helped me juggle schedules months ago. It wasn't much, but it was mine. The invitations kept coming, but something had shifted in me. The first no had cracked open the possibility of more. And thank God it did, because the next shock made the wedding invitations look like party favors. The first time I saw the darkness behind Henry's golden boy act, it was almost by accident. I'd run into them at the grocery store, of all places. I was half asleep after a double shift, still in my oil-stained work shirt, grabbing frozen pizza and a six-pack. They were in the produce aisle, shopping like they'd stepped out of an Instagram ad. Matching smiles. Her holding kale she definitely wasn't going to eat. Kimmy waved first, all chipper. Nick. Hey. Like we were old classmates, not a failed engagement. Henry barely looked up. His jaw was tight, his hand clamped on the cart like it owed him money. When Kimmy reached for a bunch of grapes, he snapped. Not loud, but sharp. No. Too expensive. Put it back. His voice carried the kind of edge that doesn't care who hears. She flushed red and set them down like she'd been caught stealing. For a split second, her eyes flicked toward me. Embarrassed. Afraid. Both. I wanted to say something. God, I wanted to, but I didn't. Not there, with the whole world watching. Instead, I pretended to compare frozen pizzas and walked off before my fists got involved. But after that, I started hearing things. Her cousin messaged me on Facebook out of nowhere. Hey, is Kimmy okay? She stopped answering my calls. I figured maybe she's embarrassed, you know, leaving you for Henry and all, but something feels off. Then, a buddy of mine who works security at a bar said he'd seen Henry there, drunk out of his skull, trying to flirt with anything that walked. When the girl he latched onto pulled away, he got grabby, until the bouncers stepped in. And still, the wedding machine kept grinding. Her mom texted me again, acting like nothing was wrong. Darling, can you recommend a good photographer? You've always had such an eye for these things. I didn't reply. Instead, I drove past their apartment one night. Not proud of it, but I needed to see for myself. Lights were on. Through the open window, I heard shouting. Henry's voice booming. Kimmy's smaller one snapping back, then muffled crying. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles cracked. That was when I realized this wasn't just about a broken engagement anymore. This was about her safety. I didn't want her back. I needed to make that clear to myself. But I also couldn't stomach the thought of standing by while she was swallowed whole by Henry's charm. And as fate would have it, I wasn't the only one who noticed. The very next week, Evelyn, the bakery Evelyn, the one whose emails I'd left sitting in my inbox like unanswered prayers, bumped into me at a coffee shop. She remembered my name, remembered my canceled cake order. And when she asked how I was holding up, I actually told her. Not everything. Not yet, but enough. She frowned, concern softening her face. Nick, if she's with someone like that, she's going to need people who won't just look away. That was the first time I thought maybe I wasn't crazy for worrying. Maybe I wasn't just the bitter ex. And it wouldn't be the last time Evelyn showed up right when I needed it. It happened faster than I expected. Kimmy's family had been pushing me harder, texting, calling, even showing up at my place like I owed them something. Her dad cornered me in a parking lot once, clapping me on the back like we were old pals. "Come on, Nick. Don't be petty. Just talk to the venue people for us. You've got connections." I told him the same thing I told everyone else. No. It felt good, even though every no added to the weight pressing down on me. Then came the engagement party. Not mine anymore, theirs. I wasn't invited, obviously, but that didn't stop the photos from flooding social media. Kimmy in a shimmering dress, Henry with that too perfect grin, her mom tagging everyone under the sun with captions like, "So blessed. The beginning of forever." It should have just been another night of me scrolling and grimacing. But around midnight, my phone buzzed with a call. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, until I heard Kimmy's voice on the other end. She was crying. Really crying. "Nick, please, can you come get me?" I froze. "What? Where are you?" "The restaurant." She broke off, a muffled sound like she was covering the phone. Then, "Please, just hurry." I didn't think. I just drove. When I got there, the place was nearly empty except for staff cleaning up. I spotted Kimmy outside, sitting on the curb, makeup smeared, her dress torn at the shoulder. Henry was nowhere in sight. She looked up at me like I was a lifeline she didn't deserve. He lost it, because I was talking to one of the waiters. He said I embarrassed him. She stopped, pressing her fingers to her cheek. Even in the low light, I could see the redness blooming there. Something hot and ugly roared inside me. "Where is he?" "Don't," she whispered, grabbing my sleeve. "He left with his friends. Just take me home. Not his place. Just somewhere safe." So I did. I drove her back to my apartment, where the cat gave her a look like, "You again?" She curled up on my couch, small and shaken, while I sat across from her with every muscle in my body screaming to go hunt Henry down. But the worst part came the next morning. Her family showed up, her mom, her dad, even her younger brother. Not to check on her, not to comfort her, to scold her. Her mom marched into my apartment without knocking. "Kimberly, do you have any idea what you've done? Running off like that? Making a scene?" Henry is furious, and frankly, I don't blame him. I stared at her. He hit her. She waved it off like I'd said he spilled wine. They both got heated. That's what passion looks like. Kimmy flinched at the word passion. I could see the way she folded in on herself, already shrinking under her mother's disapproval. That was when I snapped. "Passion," I said, standing between them. "Passion doesn't leave bruises. Passion doesn't scream in public and scare the hell out of everyone in the room. You're enabling him, and if you can't see that, you're worse than he is." Her dad puffed up, ready to argue, but for once Kimmy spoke up. Quiet but steady. "He's right." Silence fell like a curtain. Her mom's face pinched, furious at losing control. But Kimmy kept going. "I'm not marrying Henry. I don't care what anyone thinks." It was like the floor shifted under all of us. Her family left in a storm of muttering and slammed doors. And for the first time in months, I saw a glimmer of the Kimmy I used to know. The one who laughed too loudly, who painted her nails in ridiculous neon colors just because. But I also knew this wasn't my story with her anymore. It couldn't be. Because even as I sat there, holding a cup of tea I made just to keep my hands busy, my phone buzzed with a message from Evelyn. "Hope you're okay. If you need a friend, I'm around." And I realized I wanted to answer her. The morning after the engagement party disaster, everything shifted. Kimmy stayed on my couch for a couple of nights. She barely spoke, barely ate. I let her have the space, only stepping in to refill her tea or make sure the cat didn't claw her dress into ribbons. But while she curled up in silence, her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Calls from Henry, then from her mother, then from numbers she didn't recognize. At one point, I picked it up when it wouldn't stop ringing. Henry's voice spat through the speaker before I could even say hello. "Put her on. Now. You think you're some kind of hero, Nick? You think she'll run back to you? She's mine." I hung up. Kimmy didn't ask what he said. I think she already knew. The next day, the story blew up on social media. Someone at the party had filmed part of the argument, catching Henry's voice raised and Kimmy pulling away from him. It wasn't the whole picture, but it was enough. Suddenly, their perfect couple facade cracked wide open. Comments poured in, speculation everywhere. even some sympathy. But the loudest voices? Her own family. Her mom posted something infuriating. People shouldn't judge what they don't understand. Every relationship has its storms, but real love weathers them. She didn't name Henry, but everyone knew. Kimmy read it and laughed. A sharp, humorless sound. She's more worried about saving face than saving me. That was when she told me everything. How Henry had been controlling from the start. How the catching up messages had quickly turned into late-night confessions, promises, and ultimatums. How he pushed her to leave me faster than she wanted, then swept her into this whirlwind engagement that felt more like a cage than a celebration. And then she admitted something that hit harder than I expected. I thought he was exciting. You were safe. And I was stupid enough to think safe meant boring. I didn't say anything. Because what was there to say? I wasn't angry anymore. Just done. But her family wasn't. Her brother showed up at my door with a duffel bag, practically shoving it into her hands. Mom says you can stay with Nick if you want, but don't expect us to cover your rent if you miss work again. She's embarrassed enough already. Kimmy didn't even argue. She just took the bag and muttered, "Thanks." That night, she asked me outright, "Do you hate me?" I told her the truth. "No, but I don't love you anymore either." It was the first time she didn't cry when I spoke. She just nodded, like she already knew. After she fell asleep on the couch, I sat in the kitchen with my phone in hand. Evelyn's message from the other night was still there, unanswered. I typed, "Hey, thanks for checking in. Things have been messy. Could use that friend right about now." She responded within minutes. "Messy I can handle. Want to grab coffee tomorrow?" And for the first time in what felt like forever, I smiled at my phone instead of wincing at it. The fallout with Henry and her family was just beginning, but so was something else. Something quieter, steadier, something that felt safe. And this time, I realized safe didn't mean boring at all. Kimmy didn't leave right away. She kept saying she would, that she was looking for a place, but her stuff stayed stacked by my couch like a bad roommate situation. Part of me understood. She was bruised, broken, and abandoned by the very people who should have stood up for her. But another part of me knew I was playing landlord to a ghost of my past. And then came the first mistake text. It was late, maybe 1 a.m., when my phone buzzed. I thought it might be Evelyn. She and I had started grabbing coffee a couple of times a week, and texting in the evenings had become normal. Easy. But no, it was Kimmy, from 10 feet away on my couch. The message said, "I miss you. We could have had it all if I hadn't been so stupid." I sat there staring at the glowing screen, half expecting her to get up and snatch the phone back like a kid caught cheating on a test. She didn't. She just lay there, eyes closed, pretending to sleep. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. Made herself toast, even offered me some. I didn't bring it up. But when she left her phone on the counter while showering, I couldn't help but notice her draft messages folder. Half-written apologies, declarations, even one that said, "Evelyn won't love you like I did." Yeah, she knew. Meanwhile, Evelyn was the opposite. No drama, no games. When she laughed, it was genuine. When she asked how I was doing, she didn't mean, so she could use it later, she meant it. And when she handed me a sample box of cupcakes one afternoon, she winked and said, "For surviving whatever soap opera you're living through." Kimmy noticed. She always noticed. One evening, I came home with frosting on my sleeve. Evelyn had swatted me with a piping bag while showing me how she decorated. Kimmy's eyes narrowed. "You've been with her, haven't you?" I didn't lie. "Yeah, we got coffee." "She's a rebound," she spat. "You think she'll put up with your long hours? Your moods? She doesn't know you like I do." I leaned against the counter, tired down to my bones. "You're right. She doesn't know me like you do. That's the point." Her face crumpled, but instead of crying, she got angry. "So that's it. After everything I gave up, everything I went through, you're just going to replace me?" "No," I said quietly. "I'm moving on. That's different." Later that night, she left, took her duffel bag, muttered something about needing space. I didn't stop her this time. But her family? They weren't done with me. 2 days later, her mom called, syrupy sweet. "Darling, I know things are complicated right now, but Henry's family pulled out of the wedding budget, and we're in a bit of a bind. You've always been so generous. Would you consider, just as a friend, helping us finish what you and Kimmy started?" I almost laughed in her face. Almost. Instead, I said, "I already finished what Kimmy and I started. We broke up. Have a good day. And I hung up. That night, I told Evelyn everything. The texts, the manipulation, the family pressure. She listened, didn't interrupt, didn't judge. When I was done, she just reached across the table, resting her hand over mine. You know what I like about you? She said softly. You've been through hell, but you still care. You didn't let it make you cruel. I sat there stunned, because nobody had said something like that to me before. And for the first time, I thought maybe, just maybe, something good could grow out of the ashes. I thought the storm was finally dying down. Kimmy had left, her family had gone quiet for once, and Evelyn and I had settled into this sweet, tentative rhythm. We weren't calling it anything serious yet, but the way she smiled at me across a cup of coffee felt steadier than any ring I'd ever bought. Then Henry came back. It was a Thursday night, and I was dead on my feet from work. Evelyn had dropped off a box of day-old pastries so I wouldn't starve, and I'd just fed the cat when there was a pounding on my door. Not a knock, a pounding. I opened it, and there he was, Henry, red-eyed, reeking of whiskey, shirt half-buttoned. You think you can take her from me? He snarled, shoving his way inside before I could react. Get out, I snapped, blocking him from going farther. But he was already ranting. She's mine. Always has been. You were just the filler boyfriend. The wallet. She told me about the ring, about how pathetic you looked proposing by some duck pond. You think she ever really wanted you? I didn't rise to it, though my fists itched. Kimmy left you. That's on you. Not me. That's when I noticed he wasn't holding his phone or his keys. He was holding a broken champagne bottle, jagged at the top, his knuckles white around the neck of it. Every instinct in me went cold. Before I could move, Kimmy's voice came from behind him. Henry, stop. I hadn't even realized she was there. She'd followed him, maybe trying to stop him, maybe out of habit. She looked terrified, eyes darting from me to the glass in his hand. Henry spun on her. You're coming with me. Right now. She shook her head. No, not anymore. He lunged forward, bottle raised. And I swear, time slowed down. I didn't think. I just grabbed the closest thing within reach, a cast iron pan off the stove, and stepped between them. The clash when the bottle hit the pan was deafening, shards spraying across the kitchen like deadly confetti. For a heartbeat, Henry just stared at me, stunned. Then he bolted, storming out the door with curses spilling behind him. The apartment was silent except for my own ragged breathing. Kimmy slid down against the wall, shaking. He's never gone that far before. I crouched beside her. Kimmy, listen to me. He's not safe. You need to press charges. Get a restraining order. Something. Her eyes filled with tears. And what if my family takes his side? They always do. That was when I realized. She wasn't just fighting Henry. She was fighting the whole system of people who'd rather protect an image than their own daughter. So I called Evelyn. I didn't even think about it. I just knew she'd pick up. She arrived 20 minutes later, hair in a messy bun, flowers still dusted on her jeans, but steady as a rock. She helped calm Kimmy down, made her tea, even sat with her until her hands stopped shaking. Watching them, Evelyn soothing the woman who had once broken me, I felt something strange. Closure, maybe. Or clarity. Because in that moment, I knew two things. Kimmy needed help, but not from me. Not anymore. Evelyn wasn't just safe. She was my future. Still, the night wasn't over. Because Henry wasn't done. And the next time he came around, he wouldn't be alone. 2 days later, I got a call from my boss. Nick, you need to get in here. Now. His voice was clipped, the kind of tone that made my stomach drop. When I arrived, he shoved his phone in my face. A post. A long, dramatic Facebook rant from none other than Henry. It read like bad fanfiction. How I had stolen Kimmy, how I attacked him with a weapon, how I was obsessed and dangerous. He painted himself as the poor, betrayed fiancé, and me as some unhinged villain. And the kicker? He tagged Kimmy's family in it. And they shared it. Her mom commented, "This is what we feared all along." Nick was always possessive. Her dad added a prayer hands emoji. Even her younger brother chimed in. Explains a lot. Suddenly, my phone blew up. Messages from friends, co-workers, even distant cousins asking if it was true. Evelyn texted me a screenshot before I could even explain. Don't panic. We'll figure this out. But I did panic. Because Henry didn't stop at Facebook. He filed a police report. Said I threatened him with a weapon. Technically true, except he left out the part where he charged me with a broken bottle first. An officer came to my apartment that night, asked me to come down and make a statement. I cooperated because I had nothing to hide. But the humiliation of sitting in that station while some rookie typed up, "Subject claims he acted in self-defense with a frying pan," was unbearable. Kimmy tried to back me up. She even went with me to the station, told them Henry was lying. But her credibility was shot. Her family had already turned on her, whispering that she was confused, emotional, covering for me. I barely slept. Every sound outside made me jump. Evelyn noticed. She always noticed. One night, she showed up with a box of cookies and said, "If he wants to drag you through the mud, let's give you something solid to stand on." She introduced me to one of her cousins, a lawyer. Sharp as a knife, with a no-nonsense way of talking that made me feel like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't crazy. He advised me to file my own report, to get ahead of it. "Bullies win when you stay quiet," he said. So I did. I told my side, showed the bruises on my arm where Henry shoved me, even handed over the threatening texts. It didn't erase the damage, but it planted a seed of doubt, enough that the police promised to keep an eye on Henry. The end of Henry's perfect facade didn't come quietly. It crashed down like glass. It started with Kimmy's brother. I guess the guilt got to him, because one night he posted a long thread on Twitter. Not vague, not cryptic. Names named. Dates mentioned. Times he'd seen Henry get handsy with other women at parties. The night he saw him shove Kimmy into a wall. The voicemail Henry once left calling her his property. Screenshots followed. Proof. Receipts. It spread like wildfire. People who had once gushed about Henry and Kimmy's love story now retweeted with disgust. Old friends of his chimed in. "Yeah, I saw him cheat too." One even admitted Henry had stiffed him on thousands of dollars in gambling debts. By morning, Henry's name was everywhere, for all the wrong reasons. Kimmy's family? They tried damage control. Her mom posted another long Facebook rant about privacy and family matters. But this time the comments turned on her. Strangers calling her an enabler, friends asking how she could defend him, even distant cousins saying, "Auntie, this is shameful." Meanwhile, I was sitting in a booth at Evelyn's bakery, watching her frost cupcakes like nothing had changed, when my phone buzzed. Another unknown number. This time, it wasn't a threat. It was a news alert. Local man arrested on assault charges after domestic violence reports. Henry's mugshot stared back at me. Hollow eyes. Split lip. No smile left. Kimmy texted me an hour later. "It's over. Finally." I stared at those words for a long time before replying. "Good. You deserve peace." Nothing more. Nothing less. Because while her chapter with Henry had closed, mine with Evelyn was opening. That night, after she closed up the bakery, I stayed behind to help her stack chairs and mop floors. At one point, I asked why she'd even bothered with me through all this chaos. She set down the mop, looked me straight in the eye, and said, "Because you kept showing up. Even broken, even bruised. You showed up for her, for yourself, and for me. That's rare, Nick." I didn't know what to say, so I just kissed her. Slow, soft, but real. And when she kissed me back, the noise of the past few months finally, fell quiet. For the first time in years, I wasn't someone's safety net, someone's backup, someone's free labor. I was just me, and it was enough.